Undercover Millionaire has his card declined. Until the black cleaning lady did the unthinkable, the supermarket floor shone as if someone had used way too much varnish, and Maya knew that shine was a lie. Underneath, there were scratches, dried soda splatters, dust the overnight shift couldn't tame. She pushed the cleaning cart like someone steering a ship against the tide, apron already damp on her chest, trying to ignore the stab in her lower back. It was 7:40 a.m. when the automatic door hissed and a man walked in wearing a simple baseball cap, scruffy beard, worn-out sneakers, and a plain canvas backpack. Nobody would have looked twice if he hadn't looked at everyone first, a sweeping gaze across the aisles, checking the checkout line, weighing the security guards with his eyes. Maya noticed. She always noticed what wasn't meant to be noticed, and thought he had a carefulness that didn't match his unassuming clothes. The man lingered in dairy, picked up a regular butter, put it back, compared coffee prices, grabbed a cheap bag, hesitated at the rice. 4 items in the basket. His hurry was a rehearsed calm, Maya realized. Something in his posture, a straight control of a person measuring his own reactions. Still, he chose the express lane, the one the manager always patrolled as if every cent were coming out of her own pocket. "Look at the deadbeat trying to save pennies here," someone muttered low, but not low enough. Maya heard it, she always did, and she breathed like she did before every shift. 3 seconds in through the nose, 5 out through the mouth. Simple ritual, feet planted. The world tries to knock you off your footing. Remember your feet. That's what her grandmother used to say. Ahead of her, a boy begged his mother for a chocolate bar placed strategically at child hand height. The mother said no 3 times, and on the 4th, smiled, defeated. Just today, Maya smiled too. Small truces, small tendernesses. The morning sea seemed too calm to promise a storm, and yet the storm arrived in the dry beep of a declined card. The man in the cap lifted his face. The cashier repeated the request. "Could you tap it again, please?" He tapped. Second beep. A discreet red light came on. The manager, rushing in like she could smell blood, appeared at his side. Aggressive perfume, heels ticking like a sentence. "Sir, your card was refused. Do you have another one?" The line held its breath. The security guard took 2 steps closer, arms crossed, casting a shadow. The man blinked, not out of shame, but like someone arranging a thought. He took out his wallet, pulled another card, this one black, minimal, no logo. He tapped. Third beep. Unfortunately, no. The manager stifled the smile, wanting to escape. No balance, no purchase. She tapped a fingernail on the counter, an old power tick. Next. The man who had scanned the entire store with one look now seemed surprised by a piece of his own staging. "Can we try debit?" he asked politely. "Or cash?" The manager crossed her arms. "No debit. Your function is blocked. Cash? If you had it, you'd have used it." Someone laughed behind him. Another commented, poisonous, "Thought your smile would buy on-store credit." Maya felt her skin prickle. She remembered a yesterday that never went away. Her, standing in front of another turnstile, another counter, hearing "wrong document" and "come back another day," pushed out by a hand that didn't even bother to be rough. The shame didn't come from the mistake. It came from being exposed as the mistake. The man didn't try to argue. He looked at the 4 items and, with a gentleness that hurt, told the cashier, "Sorry for the trouble, man." Then he turned to the line. "Sorry for the delay." That's when the manager snapped. "No balance, no morals. Next." And she touched the man's shoulder to move him along. It wasn't a shove, it was worse. Permission for the line to walk through him. The security guard was already at his side like a period at the end of a sentence. Maya heard the phrase ricochet inside her, and before her body could think, her voice came out. "Don't talk like that." The line turned to see the black cleaning woman, wrinkled apron, gloves hanging off the cart, hair tied under a flowered scarf. "Don't talk like that to anyone." The manager tilted her chin, calculating the insolence. "You're on the clock, Maya. Do your job." "I am," she said, laying the cloth over the bucket. "I'm making sure I don't leave the kind of dirt you don't see." She looked at the man, and for a second the world went silent like the moment before thunder. "How much is it?" she asked the cashier. The young man, caught between hierarchies, hesitated. $68.94. Maya slipped a hand into her apron pocket, counted bills meant for the bus ride home, and a gas tank at the stove already coughing. She knew how to add humiliations and multiply consequences. She felt the 52 tens cold coins. The moral question bit inside. If she lifted one person up, would she knock someone else down? Who deserves rescue first? The need waiting at home or the injustice poking you now? The man looked at her in a way that asked her not to sacrifice herself, and yet didn't ask too much. Something in his eyes, a recognition she couldn't explain. "I'll handle it," he said softly, steady voice, like he had more cards. The manager laughed carefully, the way someone likes to humiliate without vulgarity. "Handle how? With the miracle of your vibes?" Maya breathed again. 3 seconds in, 5 out. Then she did the unthinkable, or what would later seem unthinkable when people retold the story with embellishments. She took the man's groceries and used her own debit card. Tap, beep, green. "I've got it," she said simply. "And please, don't put your hands on people," the line murmured. The security guard stepped half a pace back, confused. The cashier swallowed and looked at the manager as if asking permission for what had already happened. The manager pressed her lips together, footing lost for an instant. Tiny but there, a crack in the board of control she cultivated. The man didn't smile in relief or in debt. He nodded, took the small bag with both hands, as if accepting something heavier than groceries. "Thank you, Ms. Maya," he said, and the sound of her own name in his voice set off an inner alarm. "How do you know my name?" He lifted his chin toward the badge, peeking from her apron pocket. Hard to forget the name of the person holding up the ceiling when everything else tries to fall. The manager huffed. "Is the show over?" She took back the counter, but nobody was sure the play was still under her direction. Maya followed the man with her eyes as he moved away. He didn't leave. Instead, he headed toward the back of the store, where the bulletin board and a white door marked "Employees Only" were. He didn't try to enter. He pulled an old phone from his pocket, spiderweb crack across the screen, and dialed. Maya saw it. Maya stored images like evidence. His hand didn't shake. His voice stirred things in the air. The question stayed behind but didn't leave her. How far does justice go when the price explodes in the wrong pocket? There were days when Maya felt her whole life fit in a bucket. You fill it, carry it, dump it, fill it again. Her right arm had a discreet muscle from twisting cloth so much, and her left held a scar that started at the wrist and disappeared into the apron like a crooked stitch. That came from the garment factory days, when the machine swallowed a bit of skin along with the fabric. "We learn to live without what the machine takes," her mother said, and Maya wore the phrase like armor. But that morning, the armor creaked. She looped behind the bakery, where the oven breathed heat, and leaned a second against the cool wall to recover. Buying someone else's groceries had been an unplanned shortcut. She wanted to believe the bus still fit the day's budget, that the gas tank would accept the verbal negotiation the stove had hinted at for 2 nights. She let her body remember that bravery also tires. Her phone buzzed. Cracked screen, too. A voice message from her sister, Nina. "Sis," the principal called. "Camille's project didn't make the contest because they said it came in without a signature." She cried, "Okay, keep an eye on it. I'm going to the school in the afternoon, but can you see if the teacher will let you add the signature? I don't want them stamping late on her. No, Camille worked so hard. God bless you." Maya listened twice without hitting speaker. Camille, her daughter, 12, had drawn a jaguar that seemed to leap off the page. She'd stayed up late coloring, pencil point worn to a nub. If the project lacked a signature, it was because rushing to catch the bus and fear of missing it made Maya forget a tiny gesture with a huge result. A mistake the size of a name. It hurt. She pocketed the phone and went back to the floor. The man in the cap was no longer in sight. The manager buzzed around like a queen bee in a field of the wrong flowers. The security guard prodded a tooth with his tongue, distracted. Maya resumed wiping. Ritual. Feet firm. Breathe. Glide. Ring. When she rung, she thought, and when she thought, she opened inner drawers. In one she kept little envelopes of humiliations. The supplier who once called her Brownie, the customer who spilled on purpose to test her, the cashier who said, "Look at the color of her smock, like it came stained from birth," and laughed with another girl. Maya didn't collect anger. She collected memories so she wouldn't get confused. There's a difference. While cleaning, she caught a snippet of conversation. He went to the back. Who? The card guy. So? He was staring at the board, took a photo. Maya was 5 meters away when she noticed the manager heading toward the white door. Maya followed at a distance, quiet as someone listening for a storm with her ear to the wind. The man stood in front of the employee's bulletin board, the day off schedule, workplace safety notes, a poster about moral harassment with generic text, and a bold 1-800 number. He was photographing the 1-800 poster. The manager arrived like someone dousing fire with gasoline. "Sir, restricted area, what are you doing?" He held up the phone, showing the screen with ease. "Jotting down a number. Could be useful." "For what?" "To report inappropriate treatment of customers," he said without raising his voice. "Or employees." The "or employees" landed on Maya's ears like a bird recognizing its tree. "Oh, please." The manager flipped her wrist with disdain. "You want to teach me my job? You don't even have the balance to pay for butter." Then he took something from his backpack, a simple leather wallet, and, from inside, a sheet of paper, folded in 6. He opened it carefully. A document? Maya took one noiseless step closer, seen but invisible. She'd trained that trick for years. He held the sheet out to the manager. "If you think balance equals morals, maybe this number will change your mind." The manager didn't take it. "I don't touch papers from strangers." He smiled sideways, refolded it and set it on the side counter by the white door. From where she stood, Maya read the top line in small letters. Convocation, Advisory Council, National Fiduciary Bank. There was a crest, a digital signature and a name, Arthur Vance. The document mentioned an extraordinary meeting, a risk process audit, discreet visits. He wasn't some random guy arguing over a discount, Maya realized. He was a somebody dressed as anybody, and that distinction is always dangerous in this world. When power wears plain cloth, prejudice stands naked. "That paper doesn't prove anything," the manager said, her upper lip trembling a little. "Even campaign flyers have crests." "Of course," Arthur replied without offense. "Real proof I only show when baseline dignity is observed. Otherwise, it isn't proof. It's ammo." He took the paper back before she could crumple it and tucked it away. Maya didn't know what he wanted, but she felt he wanted something bigger than butter. Sometimes people come to stores not to buy things, but to measure people. "Security," the manager called sharp. "Walk this gentleman out. He's disrupting." The guard obeyed on autopilot. Arthur tilted his head, compliant. "I'll go. May I just have a printout of my declined transaction?" "That's my right." The cashier afar raised the little slip the system prints for every failed transaction. The manager was about to say no, but "my right" and "receipt" are words that, if denied, leave tracks in important places. Give it to him and be done. Paper moved from hand to hand. "Evidence number 1, Maya noted. Arthur pocketed the slip, glanced up at the camera panel showing tiled views of the aisles. "Do the cameras record audio?" he asked. "Of course not." "Great. Simpler." He smiled. Not a smile begging truce. The smile of someone who already knows how the book ends. Maya swallowed the urge to ask. She had other urgencies. Camille's signature, the gas on its last breath, the bus fare. But something in her, not curiosity exactly, more like a sense that the weight of the world on certain heads was being decided in that aisle, kept her near. The guard gestured for Arthur to walk. He walked. As he passed Maya, he stopped a moment. "I'll repay today double," he said just to her, low. "If you'll let me." "You don't have to," she answered, also low. "It wasn't a loan, it was the least. Then I'll repay another way." He left. The automatic door hissed again. Street noise came in with diesel and fried dough smell. The manager breathed easy, like she thought she'd won. At least that spectacle is over. Maya knew it wasn't. A gentleman from the line, light-buttoned shirt, approached Maya, a bit embarrassed. "Ma'am, sorry to intrude, but that was beautiful." She smiled with the half of her mouth that wasn't afraid yet. "Thank you. And be careful." He glanced at the manager, lowered his voice. "People who like to humiliate don't forget." The morning continued, but it wasn't the same. Maya cleaned the tiles near the butcher counter in silence, where blood had been but wasn't anymore. Her eyes, trained to hunt remnants, now hunted signs of what would return. Then another beep sounded different. The beep of the store's old intercom at the manager's counter, which almost never rang. The manager answered, "Super Savings Tapajara, good morning." She listened. Her shoulders stiffened. She masked it. "Who is this?" The silence on the other end answered with authority. "Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Of course." When she hung up, she called the store owner from the back office, and they went into the glass room by the main register. The glass seemed transparent, but those inside could see without being seen. Maya noticed. Again. The owner came out with a slightly pale forehead. "Put on a pot of coffee," he told the bakery clerk. The bakery clerk never made coffee for customers, only for important visitors. Maya felt a pressure change in the air, like when an old bus door opens with a lurch. And then, in less than 15 minutes, another man came in. No cap, not security, not a customer's face. He didn't pick up a basket or look at prices. He walked straight to the manager's counter, where the manager tried to smile before understanding whether she should. He slid an ID card under the glass. The owner read it and paled a shade more. Maya didn't catch the name, but she saw the logo, National Fiduciary Bank. Securing the cloth on the bucket with an automatic gesture, Maya thought, some days fit in a bucket, some spill out into the street. Hers was doing both at once. The bankman introduced himself as Reed, without a title, without adjectives. He had the air of an auditor, but spoke like a teacher who chooses not to humiliate students. He requested a 15-minute private conversation. The owner led the way. The manager went too, shaking inside and rigid outside. Maya, who had no invitation to any room, remained in the hallway, scrubbing a clean floor out of pure habit. The glass door had a half-drawn curtain, but it didn't reveal words. Those on the outside learned to read lips' gestures, the rhythm of a chest. Reed showed documents, dull folders, modest staples. The owner nodded in short agreements. The manager's cheeks changed color, a rainbow of discomfort. In the end, Reed opened the door and called the cashier who'd served Arthur. "Please." The young man went in, white as his apron. Maya heard only this, in the second before the door closed again. Receipts, times, standard procedure. It was the bakery clerk whispering, who released the info that blew through the floor like wind. "Seems that guy's on the bank's board. He's auditing service. Undercover." Someone laughed awkwardly. "Undercover as poor. People make things up." Another corrected, "No need to make it up, just read the world. Anyone who humiliates by appearances is bankrupt in soul." The phrase hung in the air. Maya finished the aisle and went to check the cleaning supply shelf, making sure there was enough disinfectant for the afternoon. The phone buzzed again. Another message from her sister, shorter this time. "I spoke to the teacher. She said she'll accept the signature today till 2 p.m. If you can, swing by. Camille's waiting, love you." Maya tapped her cheap market watch, always 10 minutes late out of stubbornness. Was there time? Maybe, if nothing unexpected happened. But surprises were on sale that day. The door of the room opened. Reed came out first, nodding his thanks. The owner followed, a professional smile relearned in a rush. The manager emerged last, posture of someone trying to use her spine as a crutch. The auditor, still soft-spoken, called out, "Ms. Maya, please." The world paused again. She swallowed. "Yes, sir. May we speak for 2 minutes?" The whole store became an ear. Maya nodded, wiped her hands on the apron, took off her gloves. She stepped into the room. The air felt colder in there, as if temperature obeyed hierarchies. Reed extended his hand, frank look. "I'm with National Fiduciary. We're running a field audit. The gentleman who went through that situation earlier works with us. I need your view of what happened." Maya blinked. "Mine? Yours? You paid for his groceries." "I did. Why?" She thought of pretty phrases, chose honesty instead. "Because it was right, and because I've stood where they put him." Reed jotted on a notepad that looked too small to hold whole lives. "Do you have a receipt for your payment?" Maya pointed with her chin at the register. "The system does. And your card?" "I don't know how to pull an online statement without spending data." He smiled, respectful. "No problem, we'll check the system." The manager, wringing her hands internally, burst out, "This is absurd. The employee interfered in an operation. She can't. She broke protocol." Reed looked at her with the patience of someone putting stones in a cup of water to keep it from tipping. "No protocol requires someone to be unjust, and from what I saw, she didn't prevent anything. She allowed a $68 purchase to be completed." The owner cleared his throat. "Yes, that's what happened." The manager tried another angle. "But what if it was a scam? What if he was testing to go viral? We'll be a meme." Reed wrote again. "You're afraid of ridicule." "Understood. I recommend fearing injustice instead. It's more expensive." The phrase hurt the room. The owner drew a breath, eager to end it. "What do we need to do then?" Reed was surgical. "First, record that there was improper conduct in approaching the customer. The cameras don't record sound, but we can verify the decline and the inappropriate movement of the customer in the line. Second, acknowledge publicly, even if just here on the floor, that the approach was mistaken. Third, make amends to the employee who was exposed when she made an ethical, not punitive decision." The manager coughed, surprised. "Make amends?" "Yes, because from what I understand, she was publicly reprimanded for doing what the system should do." Facilitate, not humiliate. And if we don't agree to all that, the manager prodded, already less firm. Reed put away his pen. Then expect something else. An official visit with seals and papers and people, and the story will be bigger than it needs to be. And someone here will answer for discrimination toward a customer and for harassing an employee. Choose. The owner raised his hands. No, we'll handle it. Here. He looked at Maya, hurried. Ms. Maya, sorry for the trouble. We appreciate your action. Maya held his gaze. No need to thank me for buying someone's rice. Just don't humiliate people when the system fails. Reed concluded. Perfect, I'll be back by day's end. And by the way, Mr. Arthur asked that I discreetly see if Ms. Maya would speak with him for 5 minutes outside the store. Only if you want. No obligation. The name Arthur caught the air. It had weight. Maya allowed herself the question stuck in her. Is he who you think he is? He is who he is, Reed replied, unpretentious. And today, he preferred to be treated like anyone. The result interests him. Outside, the store no longer snooped with modesty. When Maya stepped out, half a dozen eyes followed like she'd climbed onto an invisible platform. She pulled on her gloves again. The auditor left a moment later with the professional calm of someone who doesn't rub victory in anyone's face. The manager stayed in the glass room, pale. The owner tried to smile at long-time customers, offering cheese bread that wasn't on sale. Normalcy is a short blanket. It covers your legs and leaves your shoulders cold. Maya returned to the canned food aisle, cleaning without seeing. Her phone buzzed. Sis, what about the signature? She replied quickly. I'm going after lunch. Can you stall? I can, but Camille's nervous. Me too. Send. That's when a white shopping bag entered her field of view. The man in the cap had come back. No cap now. His hair was a discreet grey, cut short, like someone who pays a pricey barber to look like he didn't go. He smiled at Maya with a gentleness that didn't try to compensate for anything. Can I have 2 minutes? Make it quick. I'm Arthur, he said simply. I know you know. She nodded. I didn't do it because of who you were. I know. He lifted the bag. I bought a few more things. I'd like you to take these to someone you choose, someone who isn't expecting it. And if you allow, I'd like to pay for your gas. Maya stepped back, an automatic defense. I'm not selling a gesture. And I'm not buying a conscience, he replied so calmly that he disarmed her words without aggression. I'm trying to learn to repay the right way. Maya breathed, 3 in, 5 out. I have to go to my daughter's school to get a signature. If I miss it, she loses a contest. The bus doesn't wait for my dignity. The gas doesn't wait for my morals. I can't stay long. I'll drive you, he said quickly. Don't take rides from strangers. Take the auditor along. He jerked his chin. Reed outside pretended to browse the shelves. He can be the witness. She calculated the risk with the precision of someone who knows the cost of each step. She checked her stubborn watch. It fit. She looked at the manager. The woman pretended not to notice. Maya took off her gloves, slid them into her pocket. 15 minutes, she said. 15, he confirmed. He held out his phone. Before we go, can I show you something? On the cracked screen, yes, he had one too, appeared a statement. Not the pornographic balance of someone who flaunts how much money can sleep without working. A card log showing a block for an attempt outside usual spending patterns. I blocked it myself, he explained. When I go out undercover, I block it. I want to see what happens when the system decides I'm not who I say I am. Today went as I expected. But I didn't expect you. Maya looked, not showing she was impressed. It was proof. Micro, but proof. And what do you do with it? I try to blunt the sharpest tip of the spear, he said. I don't always succeed. I'd like to try today with you. She turned the phrase like a hesitant key. 15 minutes. Only because my daughter needs that signature. Then let's go for her, Arthur replied. And for a second, Maya realized the world could still change for someone who draws perfect jaguars. Arthur walked alongside Maya to the curb, Reed a few steps behind, keeping that respectful distance of someone who knows presence can weigh. Outside, a plain white car, no fleet plates, sat with hazards blinking. No driver. He'd drive. 15 minutes on the dot, Maya repeated, thumb ready on her phone timer. On the dot, he promised. Reed took the back seat. Maya, in front, set her battered backpack on her lap, cradling it like a faith. The main avenue spat horns. Arthur didn't cut along the shoulder or force illegal turns. He drove like someone who knows the wrong kind of hurry costs more. Which school? Lincoln, Maya said, and he nodded like he knew it, without exploiting the knowledge. The signatures from the art teacher. My girl turned in the project without a name because of me. The sentence came out harsher than she meant. It's not blame, Arthur said, eyes on the road. It's overload. When life squeezes everything into one clock, a minute always falls to the floor. Reed made a low sound of agreement. Maya chose not to be irritated. Useful silence saves fights, she'd learned. The school gate sat under the cool shade of trees. Maya entered with her shoulders half braced for bureaucracy. She knew how bad days could be. The front desk clerk lifted her face with a look that said, "I'm about to say no." But Maya started fast, refusing to apologize for existing. "I need the art teacher's signature on my daughter's project. They said she's accepting until 2. I'm Camille's mum, 7th grade, and the teacher knows us." Arthur and Reed stayed a step behind, neutral. The clerk tried the same old script. "The teacher isn't here now. She'll be back later." Maya pointed to the clock. "I'll wait 5 minutes. She said she'd be here." The clerk was ready to fully deny when a heel click sounded in the hall. "Maya?" The teacher appeared, blouse honestly stained with paint. "That's me. Camille's project is here." She lifted a folder. "Yes, the signature was missing, but that jaguar is insanely beautiful." The teacher opened the folder on the counter. The jaguar leapt off the paper with honey eyes and jungle shadow. Maya bit her lip to hold back emotion. I messed up with the envelope. I was rushing." The teacher grabbed a pen, looked at the clerk. "Log it as ID completed within deadline. I'll sign and Maya will sign as guardian." The clerk, frustrated at losing the chance to stamp a no, pulled out the logbook. "Photo ID from the mother," she demanded automatically. Maya froze. Her ID was at home, forgotten in a jacket. Arthur shifted, but Maya lifted a hand before he could do anything that felt like fixing it from above. She pulled out a crumpled slip with her full name, the public clinic stamp from last week, and the work badge sticker that read, "Maya R. Parker, General Services, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. "This is what I have," she said, steady. "It's got my name, my schedule, my stamp." The teacher nodded. "I know the mother, and I know Camille's hand. That jaguar is hers from across the room." The clerk twisted her mouth, picked up the phone, called the office, spoke low, jotted 2 words, hung up. "You can sign, teacher. Bring the ID later to attach." The pen scraped the paper with a sound Maya would never forget. The teacher signed and wrote the time in the corner, 1:26 p.m. "Take a photo, Maya, just in case they ask later." Maya snapped it with her cracked camera. Evidence saved. Reed, quiet, gave a small thumbs up. "Thank you, teacher. Camille needed this. She deserves it. Her drawing ties knots in grown-ups' hearts." The teacher blew on the ink out of habit and put the project into the contests folder. "Come back later with Camille. We'll talk about using India ink." Maya walked out 1 degree lighter. The breathing ritual that kept her from falling now kept her from bursting with relief. 3 seconds in, 5 out. Arthur opened her door, respectful without theatrics. 11 minutes, he said, showing his phone timer. "We've got 4 left. 4, and I've got a bus to catch by 3. "I'll drop you at the market," he said, pulling out. On the way, Arthur pointed discreetly to a pole top. "That corner camera catches the school entrance. If anyone ever questions it, you can show this signature happened on time. If needed, the auditor can request the footage." "I don't want to be an internet incident," Maya said flat. "I just want my girl's jaguar running free on the right paper. Fair." On the way back, he didn't pry. He asked 2 simple questions. "How long you been at that market?" 3 years and a bit. "First year off the books, 2 on. "Pay always on time?" "On time. Respect is what fails, and gas is what's missing." "Got it." Reed scribbled without looking up. When they parked, Arthur stopped a block early. "So it won't look like you arrived with an entourage," he said with a half smile, recognizing invisible codes. "You don't need an audience to do what you do." Maya pulled her gloves back on, turning skin into tool again. Before she got out, Arthur said, "I'll swing by later. If you prefer, I'll wait outside. I've got a proposal that isn't charity. It's about the system." Her hand on the handle, she tested the air for invisible leashes. "I don't want favors." "Me neither," he said. "I want competence and witnesses." Maya nodded. 5 p.m. "That's when my shift ends." 5. Reed added, "And you've already got a few things. The receipt for the payment you made, the teacher's signature with time, and the message asking for help. If anyone tries to flip the story, you've got a trail." "I learned to keep a trail," Maya said softly, and she went. Returning to the floor felt like plunging into lukewarm water. Everything looked the same, but her skin knew the difference. The manager, now rationing her syllables, pretended not to see Maya. Pretending is exhausting work. The owner circled produce like he was hunting for a ripe apology to offer someone who deserved respect. Maya clung to routine, the rail dignity holds onto when the rest is missing. Mid-afternoon, a customer dropped a jar of hearts of palm. The briny smell rushed the aisle. Maya arrived with her cart, gloves, dustpan, and rag. A boy of about 8 stopped beside her, curious, and she explained with a smile, "What breaks we gather, what cuts we avoid, and life goes on." He nodded like he was storing away a lesson with no name. The mother thanked her, no flourish. Simple, valuable. That's when the manager came over, voice too low to be natural. "Maya, I need you in the glass room for a minute." Her body reacted before her head, a coiled tension ready to spring. "Now?" "Now." Maya asked the butcher's assistant to watch the aisle and went. Inside were the owner, the manager, and a pleasant surprise, the morning cashier. He held 2 papers. The owner started, "Maya, we spoke to that gentleman from the bank earlier. He made some notes. We also recognized the tone was inappropriate." The manager cleared her throat, trying to say something that wasn't an apology, but wasn't a confession either. "I went too far." The words sounded like swallowing glass. "The store will adopt a new procedure for declined payments with a respectful approach, no exposure in line." The owner handed her the first paper. "This is the internal memo we'll post on the board. Feel free to read and suggest edits." The document in black type read, "In cases of declined payment, 1. Offer alternatives, debit card, cash, payment app, invoice, without value judgments. 2. Do not touch the customer. 3. Avoid exposure in line. 4. Keep neutral language, no insinuations about balance, morals, credit, or similar. 5. Offer a discreet space to resolve." At the end, a line that didn't match the store's style but maybe hinted at a new breeze. "Respect costs less than shame." Maya read slowly, savoring the possibility that it might become practice instead of decor. The second paper was an internal recognition addressed to Maya. "We record that employee Maya R. Parker acted with promptness and ethics by facilitating the completion of a purchase without exposing the customer, preserving dignity on the floor. We commend the initiative." A $200 store voucher was attached, signed. Maya held the paper like it could be either candle or blade. "I'll accept the written recognition," she said, "because it protects me when the store's memory fails. The voucher, I appreciate, but I'd rather the store donate it in my name to someone in the butcher line counting coins, or to the school for art supplies." The cashier smiled with his eyes. The owner, disarmed by the gesture, nodded. "The school it is." The manager tried to rethread her power. "Maya, about you using your card, the protocol." Reed, though not there, seemed present in how her words ran out of breath. The owner cut in. "The protocol changed, and frankly, if the store's problem is an employee preventing public shame for free, our math is off." The manager fell silent. The math had changed. Maya excused herself. Her watch read 4:48 p.m. "My shift ends at 5. The manager nearly said, "You can leave early," but swallowed it. Maya returned to the floor, wiped another aisle, checked the rags, restocked sprays in the cabinet. Closing ritual matters as much as opening. She parked the cart in the supply room and stood a minute alone among mops and brooms. She thought of Camille, the Jaguar, the 1:26 p.m. note in the corner, the gas coughing. Arthur promising not a favor, a system. At 5 sharp, she exited through the back, where employees slip out so the front isn't clogged with backpacks and fatigue. Arthur waited in the same car, hood warm from the afternoon with Reed scribbling in his pad. 15 minutes again? Maya asked. 30 if needed, Arthur said. This time I'll listen more and talk less. She didn't smile or spar. She got in. They drove 2 blocks and parked in an empty lot behind a stationery store. Arthur turned sideways in his seat to face her without making it an interrogation. I said it wasn't a favor, he began. It's a job offer. Will you hear me out? Listening doesn't burn data, Maya said. I sit on a council piloting a very specific program, service mediators, people trained not to sell more, but to stop the system from humiliating people. The pilot needs someone from the floor with instinct who can translate the invisible. It's paid on the books outside your market hours. 4-hour shifts 3 times a week, negotiable with the owner. You'd start as a community mediator with a short training paid by us and begin right there using your reality as the lab. What do you think? Maya blinked slowly. Sometimes the world offers good things with the same face as a trap. Sounds nice. Where's the catch? No movie heroics. There are reports, people who will hate you for messing with how it's always been, cameras that don't record sound, so you'll write a lot of what I saw, what I heard. And this, you can't accept money from customers, gifts, nothing. People will test you inside out. It's work that builds calluses where you didn't know you had skin. Who's the boss? You report to the program coordinator, and we report to you when you say, "This humiliates, that protects." Maya breathed, weighed the gas, the bus, the school. How much? Arthur didn't dance around it. He named an amount which, added to her market pay, would let the gas breathe, keep bus fare from becoming a ghost, and buy Camille watercolor paper without borrowing. I'll only accept if the market owner agrees, and if I can start with a short trial. If it turns into exploitation, I'm out. Perfect, Arthur said. Reed slid over a single, simple sheet. Statement of interest, not a contract. If you sign, we'll set a meeting with the owner. No surprises. Maya read line by line. At the end, a field. Name of nominated mediator. She wrote slowly, Mayarparker. The ink shone for a second before drying. Before she got out, Arthur pulled the bag from his backpack again. I was going to ask you to take this to someone you choose. Still am. Rice, oil, beans, soap, toothpaste. Maya almost said no, the sentence was ready on her tongue. But she thought of the butcher aisle. The gentleman who warned people who humiliate don't forget. Thought of the neighbor on the third floor, Mrs. Sidwell, small pension, grandson just moved in. I know who it's for. Arthur just nodded. When you give it, no note and no name from me, it stays between you. It will. Reed pointed at the clock. 16 minutes. Dock me in the report. Maya joked for the first time that day. She stepped out with the bag and the folded interest sheet. The ritual returned, but different. Before her first step, she looked down at her feet, planted her soles, listened to her own breath, and understood that her old defense was now also a beginning. News that the guy was from the bank spread through town at the speed of a 29-second voice memo. But as always, what spreads isn't the fact, it's the seasoning. In some groups it became millionaire went hungry and the cleaning lady saved him. In others, prank to shut down a prejudiced market, and some swore the whole thing was staged to sell a new card. Maya, who hated becoming a topic instead of a person, decided to tell the only people who mattered first, her sister and her daughter. At home, the stove thanked the borrowed tank the neighbor from 2B had lent on Sunday. That night, with the voucher donated to the school, a new cylinder would climb the building's groaning stairs. Nina listened without interrupting, as only a sister can. You going to take that gig? Maybe, if they let me keep 2 feet at work and 2 there. 2 feet and 2 there makes 4, sis. Don't invent legs. They laughed. Camille, at the table with colored pencils, lifted the Jaguar. Mom, the teacher said my signature made it in, and that my eyes see shadows adults don't. You do, Maya said, proud. I saw you today, the girl replied, not knowing the size of the mirror she raised. Maya sidestepped tears by tickling her daughter's chin. That night, her phone buzzed with an unknown number. The market owner. Ms. Maya, the bank gentleman wants to come tomorrow at 9 to present the program. Can you be here? I can, but I start at 7. I can't leave the floor wet. We'll shuffle shifts. This time it's important. Maya felt a thread of the world aligning for the first time, without her pushing. Next morning, the glass room turned into an improvised auditorium. There were the owner, the manager, 3 cashiers, the security guard, and Maya. Arthur, no cap, opened with disarming sincerity. I'm not here to lecture. I'm proposing a partnership. Your store is a slice of the country. You hustle, sell, earn little, get tired. And in the rush, sometimes you forget dignity isn't a freebie. He explained the program. Community mediators, quick trainings, bi-weekly reports, goals to reduce complaints, not by fudging numbers, but by changing gestures. The pilot means a small investment now and savings later, because respected customers come back. Respected employees stay. Respectful process avoids unpleasant visits. The owner scratched his chin, doing invisible math. How much? Arthur gave the number plainly. The manager's eyes widened at the impact, but not impossibility. Reed projected a simple chart on a tablet. In similar stores where we tested minimal respect practices, open conflict at the register dropped 61% in 12 weeks. Cashier turnover dropped 18%. And customers' informal "I'll be back" went up. I'm not selling miracles. I'm selling method. The manager looked at Maya like measuring a dress. And her? Who does she boss around? No one bosses anyone, Arthur said. She observes, records, and suggests. The owner decides. I'll hold him to it. Maya asked to speak. No slide, no prepped phrases, just the floor. If I join this, I'm not turning into a snitch. I won't make a list of bad to impress visitors. I'll record gestures. Who grabs a customer's arm without asking? Who demands a card before good morning? Who mocks someone's balance and who does it right and nobody sees? Who offers water? Who pulls them to the side? Who offers to try the Sun's app when the gentleman's crashes? I'll note the good and the bad. I want the good on the board too. The security guard, arms crossed, dipped his chin in a near nod. I'm willing to learn to speak less with my body, he said. It was the first time Maya heard his voice all day. The manager, cornered between ridicule and change, tried, what if someone takes advantage? What if they bring a scam? We avoid scams with procedure, not humiliation, Maya answered. You can ask for another card without saying no morals. You can move to the side without putting your hands on anyone. And if it is a scam, we record evidence, not guesses. Reed added, and evidence, as we know, begins with measured words and ends on paper. The owner breathed, looked at the spreadsheet in his mind and reached for Maya's hand. Let's try. The hand that cleans would also be the hand that writes. An addendum contract was signed on the spot, the pilot commitment posted on the board. Maya received an extra badge, Community Mediator, National Fiduciary Pilot. No stars, no shine. Responsibility. Day one as mediator began at the same lane where butter had once been refused. Maya chose to observe checkout 3. She saw an older woman trying to pay by QR code without data. The cashier, rushed, was about to say, can't do it, when Maya whispered, offer the store Wi-Fi for 5 minutes. Passwords on the printer. She'll manage. The cashier glanced at the manager, who hesitated, remembered Arthur's visit and nodded. The purchase went through. Maya wrote, simple fix, 0 cost, humiliation, avoided. Mid-morning, a construction worker tried to pay with a crumpled 50. The machine rejected. The security guard approached, chest forward, and Maya stepped 1 pace ahead, not between them so it wouldn't say police stop, but easy. Got another bill? Just this one. Maya taught the cashier to smooth it with baking parchment from the bakery. It worked. The young man thanked her like someone granted a reprieve. Maya noted, bakery trick saves a mason's day. In the afternoon, the first rub. A loud man teased a cashier because his change came in coins. Paying me in scrap metal? Maya opened her notebook and instead of jumping in, let the cashier respond. I can swap for a smaller bill, sir. It'll take a minute. He huffed but agreed. Later, Maya told her, you breathed and didn't lash out. That avoids war. I'm putting that in the good report. The woman smiled, surprised to be recognized for what didn't become a problem. That night, Arthur called. How was it? Tiring and good, Maya said. Tomorrow's another. And the gas? Arrived. Thanks for the nudge to the system. System indeed, he joked. I just signed the voucher you turned down. On day 2, the city brought its tides. A guy from the Consumer Protection Office showed up to take a look. Not a coincidence. Neighborhoods talk. Talk invites badges. Maya chose to stay in the background. She watched, noted his questions, saw the manager answer with fewer smirks and more paper. At one point, he praised the new no exposure poster. The manager almost said, I did it, but swallowed it for it was a team process. Maya wrote, when credit turns plural, the store breathes. Later, though, the world charged its toll. A voice memo began circulating with giggles, and the line, cleaning lady buys for millionaire. The square is cruel when it lacks more urgent topics. Leaving her shift, 2 teens pointed at Maya and laughed too loudly to be accidental. Hey lady, buy my iPhone too. A certainty moved inside her. Some conflicts you solve with paper, others you solve with a look that doesn't fade. She looked at them, not with anger, with clarity. When you're short on respect, I'll buy it if I can. And when you've got education to spare in your notebook, sell me some. They didn't laugh. One dropped her gaze. The other looked like she understood without admitting it. At night, at home, Maya opened the pilot logbook and wrote everything good and bad she'd seen. At the bottom of the page, without meaning to, she added a note. Breathe before stepping in. Feet on the floor. When she closed the notebook, she realized the ritual that once started her day as a defense was turning into method. The difference between holding yourself together and steadying the world is small, but it fit in a bucket and a notebook. Day 3 brought the hit. Every virtuous process gets, sooner or later, the pushback. The manager, cornered by her conscience and the risk of losing her throne, found a way to wound without seeming to. She started the shift handing out tasks with malicious subtlety, assigned Maya to clean 3 areas that required constant back and forth, and in between to observe the line. "You're good on your feet," she said, with a cutting smile. The idea was simple. Either Maya failed at cleaning or she failed as mediator. Either way, the manager could call her incompetent. 2 jobs and 1 body. Old trick. Maya spotted the game by the second detour. She chose what she always chose when the world asked her to be 2 people. Prioritize what leaves a clear trail. Cleaning leaves proof in a gleaming floor. Mediation leaves proof in conflicts that never happen. There's more. Both have proof when someone will testify. Maya asked the butcher's assistant and the bakery clerk for help. "If aisle 6 calls, ping me on the radio. If voices start to spike in line, call me. I don't have eyes in the back of my head, but we've got ears." She split 1 body into voices. The manager saw the teamwork and bit down on it. The first test hit at 10 a.m. A man upset because the register price didn't match the shelf tag. The cashier tapped the radio. Maya arrived. Instead of arguing label and cents, she proposed the consumer protection rule of thumb. Lowest price prevails. The manager showed up, made a face, and Maya already had a photo of the tag. Lowest price prevails. The man left without sarcasm. Maya wrote, "Cameras without sound don't capture tags. Photos do. Evidence." At noon, a real scam attempt. A lady pretended to be a neighbor of an employee to get bread on tab. "I'll pay later, it's for medicine." Maya wasn't supposed to manage tabs, but as a human, she didn't want to deny someone asking for medicine. "Have a prescription?" "I don't need a prescription for bread." "Is bread the medicine?" The woman fell silent. Maya didn't humiliate her. "I can't approve that, but I can take you to the social assistance center to see about emergency help." The woman turned her back, calling Maya pretentious. From a distance, the manager smirked. By afternoon, the story had twisted into "Mediator denies medicine." Reed, once he heard, asked for the report. Maya sent the bread photo, the dialogue, the time, the social assistance suggestion. "You did right," Reed replied. "Not every pain is a prescription." At 2 p.m., the heavy blow. A man in a cheap suit looking like a sales rep asked to speak to management. He had a folder of papers that sounded important. The manager met him in the glass room, and 15 minutes later came out with him arm in arm. He then sought Maya in the aisle. "Ms. Maya, I'm with the Civic Institute of Best Retail Practices. We're recognizing exemplary employees with a seal and a voucher. You just need to sign this release to use your image." He showed a block with a fancy logo and a $500 voucher for an electronics store. Scam with a sheen. Maya asked for a card, any ID. He handed over a card without a phone number. Maya snapped a photo. The name was generic. "Can I think about it? It's today or never." Too much pressure, too much varnish. Then never. He forced a smile, packed up, and vanished. Later, Reed confirmed by message. "That institute tried other stores. You sidestepped it." Near day's end, the manager found the opening she wanted. She called Maya, voice syrupy with formality. "I had to file a write-up for you leaving water on the floor in aisle 8 for 3 minutes. Maya swallowed dry. 3 minutes? I was at register 2 averting a blow-up. There are witnesses." "A write-up is a write-up. Sign here." Maya read the paper. The description was slanted. "Employee abandoned her section, leaving a hazard for customers." No context, no time. "I won't sign it like this," Maya said. "No time, no reason. If you want, I'll sign with a note that I was doing mediator duties as requested by the program." The manager lifted her chin. "Refusing to sign, I'll note the refusal. Note it with my statement next to it." Maya took the pen and handwritten, "On mediation duty, per pilot memo posted on the board, responding to register 2 between 3:17 p.m. and 3:23 p.m. Aisle 8 was marked with wet floor sign." She signed. She took a photo, handed it back, double proof. That night Arthur called. "I prefer things to go wrong now rather than later." "Tell me," Maya told him. "Tomorrow at 9 I'm bringing our legal coordinator. Not to fight, to teach what a proper write-up looks like. Time, facts, description, and a defense field." Maya closed her eyes, remembered her feet. "I don't want a war, Arthur." "Me neither," he said. "I want rules. War is when everybody forgets rules exist." At home, Camille's Jaguar was taped to the wall. "Mom, the teacher said the finals are next week. We'll be there." "Wearing nice clothes?" "Our cleanest ones." They laughed. And Maya finally ordered the gas online without feeling like each tap was shaving off a piece of the future. The day of the legal visit filled the glass room with long words. The coordinator, a calm-featured woman named Dora, brought class, not threat. She explained to the team, no finger-wagging. A write-up is a management tool, not a revenge tool. It needs facts, time, description, the preventive measure that failed or was taken, and a field for defense. Without that, it's just a mean piece of paper. The team listened. The owner took notes like learning a recipe. The manager forced a nod and pocketed a bruised pride. In the middle of her explanation, the store bell rang like an involuntary alarm. Checkout 1 was rumbling. An older woman with a colorful scarf in her hair had trembling hands. Her card had failed twice. Her husband, a man with a cane, stared at the floor like apologizing for being born. The murmur of, "Here we go," blew like dust. Maya moved before the phrase preventive measure finished. Ritual, feet, breathe, approach. "Let's step over here, ma'am." The woman followed with shy gratitude. Maya led her to the customer service desk, empty. "Do you have another card? Or an app?" "I do, but no data." Dora, who had followed, whispered something to the owner. Within seconds, the store's Wi-Fi password was on paper, just like Maya had asked days before. The woman reached for her phone. Her hand shook so much she typed the wrong number. "May I hold your hand for a second?" Maya asked. Touch requested, not imposed. The woman nodded, and Maya guided her fingers over the screen with a lightness like setting a bird down. There, payment approved. The receipt chimed that satisfying sound. The husband lifted his eyes like seeing the ocean for the first time. The line that had expected a spectacle saw service, but the floor wasn't ready to stay calm. 3 customers behind the woman, a guy in a team jersey filmed at chest height, a smirk hunter of clicks. "Hey guys, look at the employee saving the poor thing," he said, jeering without permission. Maya moved toward him with a firm calm. "Sir, delete that please. She didn't authorize you. This is a store, it's public. That's a person, that's private." He pushed the phone a little closer. The security guard moved on instinct to grab his arm. Maya raised her palm. Not at the man, at the guard. "No touching." She turned to Dora. "This is where what you taught comes in." Dora stepped up beside Maya and told the man, "Filming a customer without consent to expose them is actionable. The store does not consent. You can pocket the phone or leave." He laughed, testing, "No." Arthur, watching from a distant aisle, approached with a quiet that lowered the room's volume. "Delete it, please," he said, without adjectives. "What if I don't? Then I need your name for the incident report. If you won't give it, we call the police, and meanwhile the whole store stops because of you. You want to be the reason everyone loses time." It had been a while since anyone returned the social cost to exhibitionism. He hesitated, caught by the weight of the collective gaze, and put the phone away. "Fine, fine. Deleted." Maya didn't thank him. She nodded. You don't thank someone for finally stopping at a red light. Tension thinned. The floor breathed. The woman, her shopping now paid, held Maya's hand a second, returning the gesture. "Thank you for asking before touching. Thank you for letting me." The exchange was worth a 10-paragraph poster. When dust settled, Arthur asked to address the customers in a voice that reached without cutting. "Starting today, the store is testing a simple policy. Payment issues will be solved without an audience. If you're here to film humiliation, you'll have to find entertainment elsewhere. We're choosing respect." It wasn't a politician's speech. It was a notice from someone who pays for each word's consequences. 2 people clapped softly. It didn't swell into applause. It didn't need to. The manager, prisoner of her own chair through it all, made a bad decision and did it publicly. Maybe impulse, maybe a habit not yet dead. She walked up to Maya and with a thin smile said loudly, "Nice. Is this a stage now? Want to give interviews too?" The cheap shot fell flat because the floor had just seen the opposite. Maya could have answered with a teaching humiliation. She chose evidence. She pulled her notebook and read without theatrics. "This day, this time, I activate Wi-Fi for Mrs. Francis. This day, this time, security avoids contact. This day, this time, manager publicly questions an action in the new policy." She closed the notebook. "I don't give interviews. I file reports." The room thickened with silence. Then the script's ceiling tore open. 2 men walked in with uniforms, not from the bank, from the labor prosecutor's office. Not a movie-style raid, a scheduled visit arranged by Reed to check in on the new procedures and quietly investigate old complaints, including one of veiled harassment tied to management. They presented badges, asked the owner and manager to join them in the glass room. The legal coordinator went in too. Maya stayed outside but saw in the glass reflections what words tell: papers, a folder stamped "Notice," a shift spreadsheet, screenshots from a group chat with crude jokes. The manager sweated on the inside. The owner, pale, realized small humiliations collect interest. It unfolded firmly and briefly. The notice demanded immediate practice adjustments, leadership training, and for cases of public customer exposure, a welcome zone by the registers, what Maya simply called the no audience corner. The manager was given a deadline to respond to conduct concerns. No live firing, consequences with protocol. Sometimes what weighs isn't the shout, it's the stamp. Leaving the room, the prosecutor asked to address the staff. "We're not here to shut down stores. We're here to open respect. If you have a report, email it here." He wrote it down and posted it on the board. He didn't ask Maya to speak, didn't put her on the spot. But when he passed her, he said under his breath, "Keep writing." At that instant, as if the story asked for stitching, Camille's school called. The art contest finalists were set and her Jaguar made the cut. The academic coordinator invited families to next week's presentation. Maya listened, held back a shout of joy to avoid turning it into a spectacle in the wrong place, and looked at Arthur with a full smile that didn't apologize for existing. "Will you come?" she asked, surprising them both. "If Camille says yes, I'll sit in the last row and clap only when everyone claps. She'll like that." The floor resumed its rhythm, but a new wind was blowing underfoot. People stop tripping when someone sweeps the words that make them fall. And that evening, the smell Maya carried home wasn't disinfectant or brine. It was paper finally protecting people. A week later, the school gym turned into a watercolor stage. Finalists stood by their pieces on plywood panels, eyes larger than usual. Camille's Jaguar hung at number 7. Beside it, a boy showed a train made of cutouts. A girl had drawn a bridge with people holding hands. The principal talked about talent and effort, about how the city needs to see what children see. Maya, middle row, gripped the bench with her right hand and her heart with her left. Arthur arrived a few minutes before it began. No cap, a blue shirt, making him look less like a board member and more like a person. He sat discreetly, nodded at the art teacher, who recognized him from Maya and stayed quiet as promised. Reed, in the back, recorded with his eyes what cameras can't. Dora didn't come. Skilled people know when not to take up space. Camille was called to say 2 sentences about her Jaguar. Her voice shook at first, then found its track. "I used colored pencil and India ink because Jaguars have spots that look like maps. My mom taught me to see right. You put your feet on the ground and breathe." Laughter tears rippled around them. Maya touched her eyes with her fingers, hiding the water. Arthur looked at the floor like thanking a lesson that came from someone who doesn't command but guides. When they announced the winners, Camille took second place. First went to the cutout train, the bridge of holding hands took third. Maya applauded like someone clapping for rain in dry country. Camille ran to her, hugging with a strength that seemed to ask forgiveness for making her mom cry in public. "Good tears, baby." "Mom, the teacher said my neat signature in the corner brought luck." The teacher winked at Maya. 1:26 p.m. "Tried a week ago. Crossed the air like a hem stitch you don't see on the dress but holds it together." Outside on the crowded sidewalk, a neighbor approached with that tone that likes to mismatch "congrats" with "but." "Heard you're a Mediator now? Fancy. So the market isn't closing." Maya didn't bite. "Not closing, opening. Opening its ears." The neighbor shrugged, defeated by gossip that didn't feed her. From a distance, Arthur nodded to Maya with the exact measure of presence that doesn't create debt. Reed folded his notepad into his pocket. That night, in the simple apartment with a full gas cylinder and a pot of fluffy rice, Maya sat at the table with Camille and Nina. The bag dropped off to Mrs. Sidwell days earlier had turned into an afternoon cake. Cake that came as a slice on Maya's plate. No note, no who sent it, just a gesture crossing stairs like a bridge. Sometimes the world does give back. The phone rang, the store owner. "Miss Maya, we just closed our first week with 0 complaints about public exposure in line. Not a miracle, but a start. And I wanted to say the team is less prickly. You've got something to do with that." Maya thanked him without a speech. Then a message from Dora. The sloppy write-up was voided, and the manager signed a commitment to attend respectful leadership training, not punishment. A path. No happy ending for her. Consequences that teach cost more but pay better. Maya opened her logbook, wrote a short page more, and at the bottom, without thinking, sketched a small jaguar with an eyebrow pencil she found in a drawer. Beside it she wrote, "Ritual, feet on the ground, now it's a work tool too." Before bed she went to the window to look at the short street. 3 lampposts, 2 trees, a dog who'd chosen the sidewalk for a bed. She thought of the man in the cap, the manager with her pride tamed by paper, the security guard learning not to speak with his arm, the cashier who memorized the Wi-Fi password, the teacher who blew on ink. She thought of herself, a before and an after. The belief that had guided her, "It's you against the world," now had a small, big addendum. And sometimes the world is willing to learn. The next day she would wake early, as always. She'd look at her own feet before tying on the apron. She'd breathe 3 seconds in, 5 out. At the market, she'd go to the board. There'd be a new paper posted, "Welcome zone by the register. If difficulties arise, call for help." Next to it, another sheet in smaller letters, "Pilot bi-weekly report. Strengths. Asking permission to touch. Offering Wi-Fi, logging times. To improve. Clear price tags. Tone of voice training." A country fits on a bulletin board when people read the board. Camille popped into the doorway, hair in a crooked bun, a smile like someone who sleeps dreaming of jaguars. "Mom, what if I don't win next time? We eat cake anyway. And if I win, we eat too." They laughed. Maya lay back down for 5 minutes, not to sleep, but to thank the floor that held her yesterday and now walks beside her. Breathing came easy. The world would test her again, but now she had more than a bucket and a rag. She had a notebook, a badge and a ritual that stopped being a shield and became a guide. At the door before leaving, she caught herself in the closet mirror. She didn't see a heroine. She saw a woman with worn hands, capable of changing the weight of a line by offering the right corner. Sometimes the unthinkable is simply what nobody bothered to practice.